ओम अज्ञानं तिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुन्मिलितमेन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वरूपं कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुवैष्णवं च श्रीरूपं सार्वजातं साईगं रघुनाथं तं सजीवं साधुवेतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णभगवान् साईगं ललिता श्रीविशाखवितं च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पार्षदेशकारिणे हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश कुपेकांत राधा कांत नमस्ते तप्त कंजन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्वरूप देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंचा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधु वैवचा पतितनां पावने वैष्णवे नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। We have to continue the chapter 22, beauty in Krishna presence. Yes, Swati Mataji.
नेयं शोभिष्यते तत्र यथेदनिं गदाधर त्वत्पादेर अंकिता भाति स्वलक्षणा विलक्षितः. O Gadadhar or Krishna, our kingdom is now being marked by the impressions of your feet, and therefore it appears beautiful. But when you leave, it will no longer be so. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.39. There are certain particular marks on the feet of the Lord which distinguish the Lord from others. The marks of a flag, thunderbolt, an instrument to drive an elephant, and also an umbrella, lotus disc, etc., are on the bottom of Lord's feet. These marks are impressed upon the soft dust of the land where the Lord traverses. The land of Hastinapur was thus marked while Lord Shri Krishna was there with the Pandavas, and the kingdom of the Pandavas thus flourished by such auspicious signs. Kunti Devi points out these distinguished features and is afraid of ill luck in the absence of the Lord.
In the Chanakya Shloka, the instructions of the great moralist Chanakya Pandita, there is very nice verse. Prithvi Bhusanam Raja Narinam Bhusanam Patiha Sarvari Bhusanam Chandro Vidya Sarvasya Bhusana. Everything looks beautiful when one is intimately related with it. The sky, for example, became beautiful in relationship with the moon. The sky is always present, but on the full moonlight, when the moon and the star shines brilliantly, it looks very nice. Similarly, the state looks very well. If there is a good government with a good king or president, then everyone is happy and everything goes on well. Although although girls are naturally beautiful, a girl looks especially beautiful when she has a husband. Vidya was Sarvasya Bhusana. But if a person, however ugly, is a learned scholar, that is his beauty. Similarly, everything will look beautiful when Krishna is present. Hare Krishna.
Therefore, Kunti Devi thinks, as long as Krishna is with us, everything in our kingdom and our capital, Hastinapur, is beautiful. But when Krishna is absent, in our kingdom will not be beautiful. She says, Krishna, you are now walking in our kingdom, and the impressions of your footprints are making everything beautiful. There is sufficient water and fruit, and everything looks beautiful. But when you leave us, it will not look beautiful. Hare Krishna.
It is not that this applied only when Krishna was present and Kunti was speaking. Rather, the truth is always the same. Despite the advancement of our civilization, If we cannot bring Krishna and Krishna consciousness into the center of everything, our civilization will never become beautiful. Those who have joined the Krishna consciousness movement were beautiful before they joined, but now they have become Krishna conscious. They look especially beautiful. Therefore, the newspaper of 10 therefore the newspaper of 10 describe the devotees as bright. Oh, sorry. Therefore, the newspaper often describes the devotees as bright-faced. Their countrymen remarked how joyful and beautiful these boys and girls have become. At the present time in America, many of the younger generation are confused and hopeless, and therefore they appear morose and black-faced. Why? Because they are missing the point. They have no aim in life but the devotion, but the devotees, the Krishnaites, look very beautiful because of the presence of Krishna. Yes, Dhananjay Prabhuji.
Therefore, what was a fact 5,000 years ago during the time of Pandavas is still fact now. With the Krishna in the center, everything becomes beautiful and Krishna can become the center at any time. Krishna is always present. We simply have to invite him. My Lord, please come and be in center. That's all. To give the same example I have given before, zero has no value, but if we bring the number 1 and place it by the side of 0, the 0 becomes 10. So one need not to stop whatever one is doing. We never say stop everything material. One simply has to add Krishna.
Yes, Swati Mataji.
Of course, we have to give up anything which is against Krishna consciousness. It is not that because we do not stop material duty, we should not stop meditating. We must stop it, for this is contrary to advancement in Krishna consciousness. One cannot commit sinful activities and at the same time advance in Krishna consciousness. But Krishna says, Aham tvam sarva papepyo mokshishyami. Surrender unto me, and I shall rescue you by giving you liberation from all kinds of sinful reactions.
Every one of us, life after life, is knowingly or unknowingly commit sinful activity. I may knowingly kill an animal, and that is certainly sinful. But even if I do it unknowingly, it is also sinful. While walking on the street, we unknowingly kill so many ants, and in the course of our other ordinary dealings, while cooking, while taking water, while using a motor or pestle to crush spices, we kill so many living beings. Unless we remain Krishna consciousness, we are liable to be punished for all these unknowingly committed sinful acts.
If a child unknowingly touches fire, does it mean that the fire will excuse the child and not burn? No, nature's law is so strict, so stringent that there is no question of an excuse. Even in ordinary law, ignorance is no excuse. If we go to court and say, I do not know that this action was criminal, this plea does not mean that we shall be excused. Similarly, ignorance is no excuse for transgressing nature's law. Therefore, if we actually want to be free from the reactions of sinful life, we must be Krishna conscious. For then Krishna will free us from all sinful reactions. It is therefore recommended, Kirtanya Sada Hari. One should always chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, so that Krishna will save us.
We should always keep Krishna within our minds. And for Krishna is like the sun. This is the motto of our Back to Godhead magazine. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andhakara Yahana Krishna Tahana Nahi Mayara Adhikara. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22.31. Krishna is just like the brilliant sun. and the Maya, ignorance. It's just like the darkness. When the sun is present, there cannot be darkness. So we keep ourselves in Krishna consciousness always. We cannot be influenced by the darkness of ignorance. Rather, we shall always walk very freely in the bright sunshine of Krishna. Kunti Devi therefore prays that Krishna continue to be present with her and the Pandavas.
In fact, however, Krishna was leaving the Pandavas just as he never left Vrindavan. In the Shastra, the Vedic literature, it is said, Vrindavanam parityaja no padam ekam gacchati. Krishna never goes even one step from Vrindavan. He is so much attached to Vrindavan. How is it then that we see that Krishna left Vrindavan and went to Mathura, and then far away to Hastinapur and did not return for many years? Actually, Krishna did not live, for all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. After Krishna left, were always thinking of him and crying. The only engagement of Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, Radha Rani, and all the gopi, scouts, calves, and cowherd boys was to think of Krishna and cry. In this way, they felt Krishna to be present because Krishna's presence can be felt more strongly in separation from him. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching to love Krishna in separation. Shunya itam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thought everything is vacant without Govinda, without Krishna. Everything was vacant, but Krishna consciousness was there.
When we see everything as nothing but have only Krishna consciousness, we shall have attained the highest perfection. Therefore, the gopis are so exalted. Having attained this perfection, they could not forget Krishna even for a single moment. And Krishna went to the forest with his cows and calves. The minds of the gopis at home were disturbed. Oh, Krishna is walking barefoot, they thought. There are so many stones and nails on the path, and they must be pricking Krishna's lotus feet, which are so soft that we think our breasts hard when Krishna puts his lotus feet upon them. Thus they would cry, absorbed in these thoughts. The gopis were so anxious to see Krishna back home in the evening that they would stand on the path, looking to see Krishna returning with his calves and cows. This is Krishna consciousness.
Krishna cannot be absent from a devotee when a devotee is intensely absorbed in Krishna thoughts. Where here Kunti Devi is very much anxious, thinking that Krishna will be absent, but the actual effect of the Krishna physical absence is that he becomes more intensely present within the mind of the devotee. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by the example of his actual life, taught will Vipralamba Seva, service of Krishna in separation. Tears would come from his eyes like torrents of rain, for he would feel everything to be vacant for want of Krishna.
There are two stages of meeting Krishna: being personally present with Krishna, personally meeting him, personally talking with him, and personally embracing him is called Sambhog. But there is another way to be with Krishna in separation from him, and this is called Vipralamba. A devotee can benefit from Krishna's association in both ways.
Because we are now in the material world, we do not see Krishna directly. Nonetheless, we can see him indirectly. For example, if one sees a Pacific Ocean, one can remember Krishna immediately. If one is advanced in spiritual life, this is called meditation. One may think the Pacific Ocean is such a vast mass of water with many large waves. But although I am standing only a few yards from it, I am confident that I am safe. However powerful this ocean may be and however fearful its waves, I am sure that it will not go beyond its limits. How is this happening? By the order of Krishna, Krishna orders, my dear Pacific Ocean, you may be very big and powerful, but you cannot come beyond this point. In this way, one can immediately remember Krishna or God, who is so powerful that even the Pacific Ocean abides by his order. In this way, one can think of Krishna and it is Krishna consciousness.
Similarly, when one sees sunrise, one can immediately remember Krishna. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.8, Prabhasmi Sashi Suryayo. I am the shining of the sun and the moon. If one has learned how to see Krishna, one can see him in the sunshine. Our scientists have not created the sun, although they may juggle words. It is beyond their ability to know what the sun actually is. But the Vedanta Sutra says Shastra Unitvat. One can know everything from the Shastra, the Vedic literature. For example, if one studies the Vedic literature, one can know what the sun is, and for the sun is described in Brahma Samhita. Yet Chakshur Isha Savita Sakala Grahanam Rajas Samasta Sura Murtir Ashesha Teja Yasha Gyaya Brahm, Brahmati Sambrata Kala Chakro Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. This verse describes the sun as the eye of all the planets, and if one meditates upon this, one can understand that this is a fact. For at night, before the sun rises, one cannot see. The sun is also described as the eyes of the Lord. The sun is one of his eyes, and the moon is the other. In the Upanishad, therefore, it is said that only when Krishna sees can we see. The sun is also described in the Ashesh Teja, unlimitedly hot. And what is the function? Yashagyaya Brahmati Sambrata Kala Chakra. The sun has its orbit.
Madhumati.
God has ordered the sun, you just travel within this orbit and not anywhere else. The scientists say that if the sun were to move a little to one side, the whole universe would be ablaze. And if it moved to the other side, the whole universe would freeze. But by the order of Supreme, it does not move even 1/10,000th of an inch from where it should be. It always rises exactly at the correct time. Why? There must be some discipline, some obedience, some order. The Brahm Samhita therefore says, Yash Yash Gyanya Brahmati Sambrata Kala Chakra Govinda Madi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajami. I worship that original person by whose order the sun moves in its orbit. It is he who gives direction even to the sun, the ocean, and the moon. Everything takes place under.
So where is the difficulty in understanding in understanding God? There is no difficulty. If one is actually sane, if one has a brain that is not made of stool, one can understand God at every step. The Lord says, Rasuham apu kunteya prabhasmi sasi suryaho pranava sarve vadesu sabdaha ke Porishu Natsu. O son of Kunti, O son of Kunti, Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, and the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am I am the sound in either and the ability of men. Bhagavad Gita 7.8. When why then do people say, I have not seen God? Why don't they see God as God directs them to see him? Why do they manufacture their own way? One cannot see one cannot see God by one's own way. That is not possible. If one tries to do so, one will always remain blind. At the present moment, so-called philosophers and the scientists are trying to see God in their own way, but that is not possible. One has to see God by God's way. There, then one can see Him. If I want to see the President of the United States, then I can see him in my own way. If not, then how can I expect to see God in my own way? This is not rascaldom. I cannot see Prabhuji Upar Prabhuji. I cannot see even an ordinary man in an important position in my own way. I have to make an appointment with the secretary to make the others' appointments appropriate arrangements. But although God is so much greater than the ordinary men, rascals support the view that one can see God's own way, in one's own way, as many ways as you invent. They say they are all bona fide. This is rascaldom. The world is full of rascals and fools. Therefore, God consciousness, Krishna consciousness has become a very vague idea. Otherwise, if one wants to see God, if one wants him to be always present, as Kunti Devi is requesting that he be. One can keep God always within one's heart.
We simply have to apply our mind and senses in Krishna consciousness, as done by Maharaj Amritsya. Sa ve manaha Krishna pradravind your vachamsi vaikuntha Gunanavarnane, Bhagavatam 9.4:18. First we must fix our minds on the lotus feet of Krishna, for the mind is the center of all sensory activities. If the mind were absent, in spite of having eyes, we could not see, and in spite of having ears, we could not hear. Therefore, the mind is considered the 11th sense. These are 10 senses, 5 working senses, and 5 knowledge acquiring senses. And the center of the senses is the mind. The Bhagavad Gita 3.42 says, Indriyani parani ahur, Indriya biha param manaha, manasastu para buddhi, yo buddhi paratastu saha. In this verse, Krishna explains that although we consider the senses to be very prominent, beyond the senses is something superior, the mind. Beyond the mind is the intelligence, and beyond the intelligence is the soul.
How can we appreciate the existence of the soul if we cannot understand even the psychological movement of the mind? Beyond the mind is the intelligence, and by speculation, one can at that most approach the intellectual platform. But to understand the soul and God, one must go beyond the intellectual platform. It is possible to understand everything, but we must gain understanding to the right channel. Therefore, Vedic instruction is Tad Vigyanartham Sa Gurum Eva Vigachet Samit Panhi Srotriyam Brahmanishtham. If one is actually serious about understanding supernatural, transcendental subject matters, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master. Mundaka Upanishad 1.2.12. Okay, so moving to the next chapter 23, natural prosperity. I think it's 7:25. So can we stop? I think we should stop and start with the learning and realization. We will start fresh tomorrow. Okay. Any learnings, realizations, or comments, or anything? Or please share.
तो माई साइड प्रभु जी जो स्टार्टिंग में कुंती देवी भगवान को बोल रही हैं कि आप जब तक यहाँ थे हस्तिनापुर में हैं तब तक सब फॉर्च्यून ही लगता है बिकॉज ऑफ योर प्रेजेंस योर लोटस फीट एंड जब आप यहाँ से चले जाएंगे तो मिसफॉर्च्यून आ जाएगा हस्तिनापुर में सो शी इज एक्चुअली एम्फसाइजिंग ऑन दी प्रेजेंस ऑफ लॉर्ड कि कितना इम्पोर्टेंट है लॉर्ड की प्रेजेंस तो उसमें फिर प्रभुपाद बता रहे हैं कि फिजिकली भी प्रेजेंस होती है लॉर्ड की और दूसरा उन्होंने वर्ड यूज किया है फॉर गॉड कि जिसमें वृंदावन वासी थे भगवान में एक्चुअली मथुरा गए या उसके बाद भी वो वहाँ प्रेजेंट ही थे, क्योंकि ऑलवेज वृंदावन वासीज वर एक्चुअली थिंकिंग अबाउट गॉड, अबाउट कृष्णा। तो वो चीज़ अच्छी लगी कि एक्चुअली मतलब भगवान हमेशा हमारे हार्ट में तो हैं ही, तो वी शुड ऑलवेज रिमेम्बर कृष्णा। और चाहे कोई भी एक्टिविटी है उसमें, तो अगर हम कृष्णा को रिमेम्बर करेंगे देन वी विल एक्चुअली बी सिचुएटेड इन कृष्णा कॉन्शियसनेस। और दूसरा वो अच्छा लगा जिसमें मतलब भगवान बता रहे हैं, प्लस ब्रह्म संहिता का भी रेफरेंस दिया प्रभुपाद जी ने कि अगर सन को भी भगवान ने एक ऑर्बिट दे दिया कि तुम्हें इसी में ही रहना है, और वो साइंटिस्ट भी फिर बोलते हैं कि अगर सन थोड़ा सा भी किसी एक जगह से मूव कर जाए तो फिर इतना ज्यादा हॉटनेस हो जाएगा यहाँ पे, और अगर दूसरी साइड मूव कर जाए थोड़ा सा भी तो यहाँ पे बहुत फ्रीजिंग सिचुएशन हो जाएगी। तो आई रियलाइज्ड कि कितना अप्रोप्रिएटली भगवान ने सन को मतलब प्लेस किया कि तुम्हें यहाँ से कहीं जाना ही नहीं है, और उसे ऑर्डर, सन को फिर ऑर्डर भी दिया। तो इतनी सारी ब्लेसिंग्स कृपा है, भगवान ने सब कुछ हमें दिया है, बट समटाइम्स वी फॉरगॉट टू अप्रिशिएट एक्चुअली। दैट्स इट।
थैंक यू माता जी। इसमें थोड़ा सा ऐड और मतलब इसमें प्रभुपाद बता रहे हैं कि हम भगवान को भगवान की नजरिए से देखें, जैसा भगवान चाह रहे हैं कि हम उन्हें देखें। हम अपने हिसाब से कोई स्टैंडर्ड ना बनाए कि हम ऐसे देखें भगवान को। अगर हम भगवान को देखना चाहते हैं तो जैसे भगवान बता रहे हैं कि मुझे ऐसे परसीव करो, जैसे वो बता रहे हैं कि जल का स्वाद भी मैं हूँ, सन की लाइट भी मैं हूँ, मून की लाइट भी मैं हूँ। हाँ। तो उस तरीके से भगवान को देखें। अगर जैसे आप बता रहे हैं ये ऑर्बिट वाला रेफरेंस दिया, तो या फिर पैसिफिक ओशन का बताया प्रभुपाद ने कि पैसिफिक ओशन के अगर हम थोड़े दूर खड़े होते हैं तो वी फील वेरी सिक्योर एंड सेफ कि पैसिफिक ओशन की अब मैं डूबूंगा नहीं। मतलब हालांकि समुद्र इतना बड़ा है, पैसिफिक ओशन इतना बड़ा है, बिकॉज भगवान ने उसे भी लिमिट दे दी। तो वो जो लिमिट दिए भगवान ने और जो ऑर्बिट में सन घूम रहा है वो इतना इतना परफेक्शन है उस चीज में, वो चीज साइंटिस्ट भी बिलीव करते हैं। लेकिन इतना परफेक्शन जो है वो खुद से नहीं आ सकता, वो खुद से नहीं आ सकता। वो कोई जो ऊपर कोई उसे परफेक्शन देने वाला, दे मस्ट बी समवन जो इतना परफेक्शन दे और जिसके कंट्रोल में चीजें चले, जो इतना पावरफुल हो कि जिसके कंट्रोल में इस तरीके से चीजें चल रही कि इतनी बड़ी विशाल और ताकतवर होने के बाद भी वो हरकत नहीं करती इधर से उधर। सन सूर्य उदय समय से होता है, सूर्य अस्त समय से होता है, moon, or this is very constant. So there must be someone who is very powerful. That shows the presence of the God. That clearly shows the presence of the God. वही तो मतलब भगवान को वैसे देखें जैसे भगवान कह रहे हैं कि मुझे देखो, then we will be able to understand God और his presence. तो भगवान का हम तो फिर तो भगवान हमेशा हमारे साथ ही रहेंगे अगर वो हमारे हृदय में है हमेशा। Yes, that's all from my side. Anyone wants to add?
इसी में बस प्रभु जी मैं यही याद करना चाहूंगी कि जैसे प्रभुपाद ने यहाँ पे एग्जांपल दिया है कि जब हमें प्रेसिडेंट से मिलना होता है तो हमें उसके सेक्रेटरी की अपॉइंटमेंट लेना पड़ता है। तो ऐसा नहीं है कि जैसा हम चाहे वैसा हो जाए, नहीं, वो भगवान की केस में भी सेम, भगवान ने ही ये चीजें बनाई है कि भगवान बोल रहे हैं कि मुझे ऐसे देखो तो ऐसे ही देखना पड़ेगा, हमें अपने तरीके नहीं बनाने चाहिए क्योंकि वो बोनाफाइड रीजन, वो बोनाफाइड नहीं है। और दूसरे आजकल हम लोग देखते हैं कि लोग भगवान को अपना जैसे पेट समझ लेते हैं, कुछ कुछ लोग मतलब वो चीज वो अपने बिस्तर पे उन्हें बिठाते हैं, अपने बर्तनों में खिलाते हैं। ये चीज नहीं होनी चाहिए। भगवान का बिस्तर, भगवान की हर चीज उनसे अलग होनी चाहिए क्योंकि भगवान का एक और है, भगवान का एक स्टेप मतलब एक जगह है जो भगवान की हम सबसे अलग है, सबसे ऊपर है भगवान हम सबसे। हम लोग कभी भी अपने समान नहीं मान सकते भगवान को, या फिर क्योंकि हम लोग उस जगह को भी पहुंच ही नहीं सकते। तो वो सब चीजें ये याद करना था।
हाँ, इसलिए प्रभुपाद बताया कि that's why we need a bona fide spiritual master जो कि हमें ये ज्ञान चक्षु प्रदान करे जिसकी वजह से हम ये सब चीजें समझ पाए। Importance of spiritual master is very very important in everyone.
Yes.
Thank you. Kanak, you want to add something?
No, nothing.
Dhananjay Prabhuji, want to add something?
जी one point I like, प्रपात बोल रहे थे कि we don't have to go for materiality, we just have to add Krishna, और प्रपात एग्जांपल दे रहे थे 0 और 1 का.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Anyone wants to add something? Or some realization or anything? Okay.
No, Prabhuji.
Okay. So we can stop. Vancha kalpatarubhascha kripasindhueva patitaram bhavanyabhyo vaishnavyo namo namo jagat Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you for joining everybody. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.